Yes. So Mundaka Upanishad, as you know, the word Upanishad means to sit at the feet of a guru to acquire knowledge, right? So Mundaka Upanishad is part of the Atharva Ved. We have 4 Vedas, Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sama Ved, and Atharva Ved. So it is part of the Atharva Ved. And the word mundaka, the mundaka comes from the word mundan, right? Mundan, which means that, you know, that mundan is a sanskar, right? That shave the head, right? So it has connection with that sacrament, what you call mundan, mundaka. Okay, so mundaka comes from the word mundan, the shaving of the head, the sacrament, ugyanapeli and sanskar, right? So mundaka means someone whose head is shaved. Bom, pas comme ça, même au pédinceau, on a que, non, coiffé, on rase la tête. C'est pas mundaka, bien sûr. This is not it. But there is a whole process, a whole ritual, significance. Why do we shave the head, right? In the Hindu culture and religion I'm talking about. So there is always a meaning behind it, right? The first mundan that takes place is the first shaving for the child, right? You know, the mundan of the child that is performed. Bien sûr, tout le monde pas fairly, but yes, it is one among the sanskar that we have to do. Normalement, we have 16 sanskar prescribed. Well, this has been specially, it is there in the Veda, and the Arya Samaj has put and still putting, bien sûr, stress on following the 16 sanskar, right? But as I'm telling you, beaucoup de monde ne pas fairly because they believe it's not in the tradition to some. But the thing is, Ved has tell us to do our original scripture is Ved. Our scripture is Ved, and Ved is the words of God. So we have to do it, right? Well, I was saying that the Mundan is one of the sanskar done. It is the eighth sanskar performed, right? And the Mundan, et nos enfants, quand ils sont grands, vous êtes fairly, et bien, vous êtes still bébé, vous êtes fairly, but we need to wait for some time, right, to do that. Et nous êtes fairly après 1 an, après 40 jours, whatever, right? So the thing here is, we're not talking about that part of syllabus of Mundan, right? So mundaka means someone whose head is shaved, and the first mundan is happen when we are still a child, and this is for purity purposes, right? But here in this Upanishad, we are not aiming that this mundaka, we are not aiming it to be the sanskar performed when we were babies. No, it's not that. Here, this Upanishad aims at helping the sannyasis. I'll type few things. Right, the sannyasis, you know, we have 4 ashramas. The first ashram being the Brahmacharya ashram. Brahmacharya, that is when we are still a student. The Grihasth ashram when we get married and all. Vanprastha ashram. When we start renouncing life, we go to the forest. When we start learning renunciation, and then we have the sannyas ashram, right? The last stage of life, the complete renunciation, right? So these are the 4 ashramas. So here the Mundaka Upanishad aims at this stage of life, aims these persons, sannyasis, helping the sannyasis, right? So shaving of the head, maybe you have noticed quand un brahmachari il rentre dans un gurukul, right? His head will be shaved. Quand il marie, bien sûr, il part se la tête because he has to be beautiful, handsome. Then when he enters the vanprasth and the sannyas, we shave the head. Why do we shave the head? We have the Jainas. The Jainas, say the follower of Jainism. So this part I'm explaining is not in your syllabus, just to give you the knowledge it is. Jainism is a religion, right? Like Buddhism is. So the Jainas and also the Buddhists, the follower of Buddhism, they shave their heads, right? So the thing is this tradition is incorporated in the whole culture, in the whole religion. But why do we do it, right? And just for purity, but in fact, it signifies detachment. You know, the hair is a beauty. Surtout pour un petit peu les cheveux jolis, cheveux longs, etc. The whole story. So, because it's a beauty. But when we are in the path of spirituality, joli, pas joli, whatever thing does not count. That is not important, right? So there should be detachment, right? We detach from the material life. Get inaban rasta aussi. You know, rasta is cheveux, matted hair, like the hair of Shiv. Okay, this also signifies detachment, renunciation, right? The jata thing. And Shiv has the jata represents the detachment or the renunciation. Shiv parle salon, and all, right? So here, Mundaka, as we said, it aims at helping the sannyasis, and as the name Mundaka means the shaving of the head, which signifies detachment for the sannyasis. But the thing is, should we wait to become a sannyasi to detach, right? Bien sûr, no. Not to wait to become sannyasi to detach, right? Detachment should start at the very young age. Souvent des fois, I told you that quand nos parents grandissent, nous, bien sûr, c'est pas en tôt façon de grandir parce que c'est qu'ils en apprennent, bien sûr. So the way they brought up us up is like, je fais nous apprendre attachment. Try to reflect on it. Je fais nous apprendre attachment. This one is your brother, tu faisais donner plus l'importance, c'est plus grand que toi, vous allez faire ça, faire l'autre. You know, we have been brought up like this. That is a wrong, into inverted comma, way of bringing up someone actually, right? Parce que, you know, quand on vient dans la terre, moi, because philosophically là, quand on vient dans la terre, qui fait un vient là? We have not come here to eat and drink, to do merrymaking. C'est comme ça nous sommes capables rest in an animal body to do that. The animals, they usually eat, they drink, and does merrymaking. Yeah, music, merrymaking, music, enjoying the senses, the pleasures. To other animals also do that. But why in the human form? Though, what is the duty then of the humans? Say to learn detachment. We have come here to learn our lessons, to learn detachment, and to be united with the Supreme, to get moksha. So, bien sûr, to get moksha, we need to detach, we need to renounce. Detach, renounce will mean a bit the same thing, right? To detach or to renounce. And this should be learned since the very young age. Nous pas capable attendre comme pour 50 ans, 60 ans, whatever it is, then I'm going to start to learn detachment. Like we always say in the class, we never know when we are going to die. So why should I wait for 60? Who knows, am I going to see my 60 years or not? No one knows that. Parce que c'est inécrit pour nous, inécrit, personne ne connaît, bien sûr. Yes, you can go to the astrologer pour dire, oh, capable ça l'année là, ou pour un problème, or something. But the astrologer also cannot be precise. That is the duty of God, the work of God, right? Well, the whole thing here is detachment, right? So the Mundaka Upanishad contains spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge, you can call that higher knowledge as well, or you call it Para Vidya. Para means Param, higher, the supreme, right? Knowledge. It teaches us, that is the Mundaka Upanishad teaches us how to get rid of ignorance, of confusion, of doubts, right? How to get rid of these things. To Sala Sivan, signs of Tamas Gun. Remember, we have 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So what we just saw as, bon, tout à l'heure, whatever I'm typing. So what we call ignorance, confusions, doubts, these are all products of the tamas gun. When we tamas gun predominating in us, we are confused, we feel ignorant, we have many doubts in our mind, right? So the Mundaka Upanishad help us to get rid of these issues we have, right? Knowledge helps to eliminate the above mentioned problems, that is the ignorance, confusion, and doubts, just like a razor is used to remove the head, the hair. Sorry, yeah. Like the razor is used to remove the hair. Of course, the hair of the head we are talking about, right? Parce que Mundaka lipe goes low shaving of the head, right? So you know a razor. Divesh, what are you doing? A razor, un rasoir, nous rase, nous latte nos cheveux, right? I'll just tell you in an Upanishad. It has been said that in the Katha Upanishad. Sorry, I was just trying to remember. So in the Katha Upanishad, it has been said that the path of dharma is like the edge of a razor. Is like the edge of a razor. That is the path of dharma. Dharma with their righteousness is like the edge of a razor. Il paraît comme un rasoir quand on prend fait comment dire, on rase ou la tête. If you don't take care, right? If you don't take care, you are going to hurt yourself, right? If you don't take care, you're going to hurt yourself. So with all the precautions, and bien sûr the knowledge of using the razor, non? Si un du monde n'est pas conservé un rasoir ou de ni pour raser la tête, bien sûr, you're going to be hurt, right? The path of dharma is also the same. It is sharp. It is like the edge of the razor. It is sharp like the edge of the razor. The edge of the razor, ou peut jouer avec a razor, ou pas sous la main, l'eau edge là, you will be hurt. You need to know how to handle that. The path of dharma, the path of spirituality also is like that, right? We have to be cautious, and also we need to work hard for that, right? So, bon, si je trouvais dans un devoir, you need to code this, you do it, bien sûr, with pleasure, but provided the fit the whole thing, the whole context, right? So the mundaka we were saying is about the shaving of the head, right? Which means detachment. And this Upanishad helps the sannyasis, aim at helping the sannyasis. The sannyasis need to devote their time in meditation to attain moksha. They have to follow the path of dharma if they are sannyasis. They have to follow that path. And what do they do, the sannyasis? Après, nous pour faire the ashramas, which we have not yet done. What do they do? Actually, the sannyasis, they renounce life, comme dans Vanprastha ashram, même dans la forêt, tout ça. And they become wanderers. They wander from place to place, right? They wander from place to place. They don't stay at one place. Parce que, you know, right now you're staying in a particular house, in a particular region, right? In a particular country, bon, n'est pas pour un des country là, but in a house, country, place, l'endroit, we are living among certain people, right? Nous finit créer attachment with all these things. But the sannyasis, when they have to renounce life, they have to cut off from everything. Premières affaires, they cut off from their relationship, madames, enfants, and all other relationships, right? And the place also. They don't live la. If they live in a house, we all have the comfort. You will have a nice bed at least to sleep. You'll have a radio at least. You'll have maybe a TV. You have a small kitchen. You can cook some food, right? But for the sannyasi, no, they have to become a wanderer. As per the system previously, the traditional way, how it works. So they became the wanderer, and the wander from place to place, having no possession. Zutpe n'a aucune possession. Now, quand nous encore dans Vanprastha ashram, right? We go to a forest. We live in a particular gurukul. Longtemps, c'est un gurukul dans la forêt. Donc, if I become a sannyasi, I'm going to share my my knowledge, my experiences with the kids there, with the new brahmacharis to some, right? And here at this stage, my family can visit me. Troisième stage. My family can visit me. Right? Parce que, comprends une affaire. Quand nous vivons dans Grihastashram, nous apprenons attachment. We get married, we get attached to the person. We got married, we get attached to the new family, we get attached to our children, we get attached to pleasures, to money, right? So much attachment. They nous pas capable from grihast enter directly in complete renunciation. N'est pas possible. Il paraît comment dire, n'est pas que nausée ou mettre dans de l'eau jelly nausée. Right? It's not possible. He has to learn to swim, right? That's why we have the Vanprasthashram. Okay. Here he's going to learn the detachment. So here his family members, his children can come to meet him, right? To meet him for what? Maybe discussing something. Maybe the children will need some advice, right? Pas vous prendre pas le McDonald's, pas manger, tout ça. Not this type of meetings, right? For sharing of advice, opinions, to ça, for this purpose. But when he becomes the sannyasi, complete renunciation, when he becomes the sannyasi, ni ce madame, ni ses enfants capables de lui. Bien sûr, la raison, je peux comprendre, c'est that because he becomes a wanderer. Wanderer, that is, il paraît sans seule place. He wanders from place to place. Because now think India. Think about India. That system was come from India. India is so vast, right? And if the person dies, the sannyasi dies, c'est ne pas attendre qu'il ses enfants pour venir, pour faire son antim sanskar, son funeral. Si ses enfants prient avec lui, tant mieux. Peut-être the son is going to do that. But if not, s'il reste dans le nord, l'Inalmo dans le sud, then any other sannyasi ou bien any other people can do his funeral, right? So I continue. Donc, they devote their time in meditation to attain moksha. Their only aim of life becomes moksha, right? Becomes moksha. So this Upanishad is dedicated to the sannyasis. Normally it has 64 hymns. And it has 3 chapters. Each chapter is divided into 2. Pareil comme on a pour faire chapitre 3. Chapitre 3 in section 1 and section 2. But as I told you, we don't have everything, all the 64 chapters to do. What are the contents of the Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad? Like all the Upanishad uses, two Upanishad because the mem shows, right? So the content of the Mundaka Upanishad will be Brahman. It talks about Brahman, about the soul, the ego, the Paravidya, the highest knowledge, Aparavidya, lower knowledge, right? Bondage, liberation, creation, God being the cause of the creation, to start the cycle of birth and death, meditation, self-realization, or moksha. So pratiquement tout Upanishad talks about the same thing, right? Now, we are going to start with the Upanishad. Right? So the verse 1, chapter 3, section 1. Chapter 3, section 1. The first verse. In your book, you have the verses in Sanskrit, right? You don't have to learn that, the Sanskrit one, okay? You can go through it, you can learn it. You can read the meaning given in the new word-to-word meaning. You can go through that. Okay, that is okay. So, get dans votre livre, page 106, right? Page 106. In avant explanatory notes, là in anti-paragraph in italics, right? I'm going to read that. So the verse 1 says, two birds. Bon, my mistake here. I missed explaining about the bow analogy. Sorry. Let's do that first. Before the verse 1, okay, the Mundaka Upanishad talks about the bow analogy. What is it? You know, the bow and arrow, what you call dhanush, which was the weapon of Lord Ram, right? The bow and arrow. So we call that the bow analogy. So imagine that the bow, right? Om is the bow and Atman is the arrow. I guess on comprend c'est quoi bow and arrow là. Hein? So Om is the bow, the Atman is the arrow. Brahman is the goal. Brahman, that is God, is the goal. So we need to reach the goal. We are the Atma. We are the Atma. Through Om, à travers Om, we reach the Brahman. We reach God, which is our final destination. And to reach that, if ever you have used bow and arrow, quand nous pour servir un bow and arrow, we need concentration. Sinon, car bien sûr, tu viens du monde de n'importe qui, right? Ou bien harm other things, right? So we need concentration. So in the spiritual path, we are the Atman. We use the Om, à travers Om, we reach the Brahman, we reach God. But it's not as easy like that, right? We say Om. Om is actually written like this, right? Is the basis of life. Om can be called the formless aspect of God. You can pray in the form of Om. Om is the sound of creation. I guess you know that story. God was alone. He wanted to create. He just uttered the word Om. And the word Om had that vibrations going on everywhere. And that did creation. Ça, c'est une théorie de creation that we have. So Om is the sound of creation. Om is God itself, right? Tous les temps, quand on a pour commencer prayer, we say the word Om, we recite the word Om. When we take the name of any God as well, you add Om, for example, nous pas dire Ganeshaya Namaha, we always say Om Ganeshaya Namaha, right? So that is Om, right? Now, as I was saying, we use Om, we chant Om, we do good things, good actions, right? With a concentrated mind. Let's say we are all doing meditation, our mind is not concentrated. On finit qu'on est au voisin, voisine peut cuire biryani too while meditating because our mind is not concentrated at all, right? So the Atman qui est dans nous, c'est-à-dire nous, through our concentrated mind, through the control of the senses, by worshipping the Lord, by worshipping Om, we reach Brahman, we get moksha, right? There are many ways of reaching moksha. The three major ways we usually talk about, the three yoga. Littéralement, yoga means path. Littéralement, I'm saying. Because the word yoga means union with God, right? So here we have three yoga. The bhakti yoga, which is devotion, the path of devotion. You have jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. And you have a karma yoga, the path of action. Right? Souvent des fois, je ajoute un quatrième yoga also. Let's put it Raja Yoga. In Raja Yoga, they do meditation. For example, the Brahma Kumaris, they follow the Raja Yoga. Dans Bhagavad Gita, it goes to les quatre. Initially, Krishna talked about three in the Bhagavad Gita. Then later on, there is the mention of the Raja Yoga, right? So these are the paths to moksha. Pénal is a chemin encore to get moksha, right? If you are going to do rituals to Saliputonda Bhakti, c'est devotion. If you need, you say that only by helping people, by doing service, we get moksha, it is action, right? So everything that we do actually will fit in here. And that will be definitely the way to moksha, right? So this is the bow analogy. You can get a question about the bow analogy. People say, how décrire the bow analogy. So here the whole thing is Om is the bow, the Atman is the arrow, and Brahman is the goal. And how do we reach our goal? Atman, ban individual soul. How we reach the goal? Through the concentrated mind, right? Of course, it's a whole process to learn concentration of the mind. We will see all these stuff in the whole explanation, right? So let's move to verse number 1. Yes, I was saying in the book, page 106, right? Seki en italics la, I'm going to read that. Say the meaning of the verse, or plutôt the translation of the verse. Two birds, right? Two birds, inseparable companion. Ça veut dire ça, deux birds là, inseparable, pas séparés, companion, dwell on the same tree. Imagine un pied dans une tête, and two birds, they are living on the same tree. I continue to read. One bird eats the fruits of the tree with great enjoyment. Dans sa deux birds là, un bird, li mange ban fruit qui gagne l'au pied là, right? Li enjoy that. While the other bird, the other one, just witnesses without eating. L'autre là, is this witness. Li pas fait rien, he doesn't eat. Right? So you have understood the whole thing. And pied in these oiseaux, one of the bird enjoy eating the fruits of the tree, and the other one does not eat the fruit. Li assise seulement li witness. Witness veut dire quoi? You peut whatever is happening around, right? So this is another analogy. Souvent des fois qui sont sortis au bird also. So you can explain that. Right? So let's explain the whole thing now.